Welcome to Frequency Medicine, the space where energy healing meets ancient wisdom, where empaths come to regulate their nervous systems, and where women awaken their sacred gifts and remember their power. I'm Fiona Waddell, transformational energy healer, medical intuitive, and passionate guide for people ready to take their healing into their own hands. Whether you're brand new to energy work or you've been on this path for years, I'm here to walk beside you. So today we're diving into a powerful healing portal, the Lung Meridian, the energy of grief, and what it means to fully exhale. Finally. But first, let's take a look at where this wisdom comes from. Long before the West had labs and MRIs and all kinds of funky tests, ancient civilizations knew energy. They watched the stars, they studied breathing, they noticed how grief showed up in the chest and how people would get sick after loss. In traditional Chinese medicine, or TCM, it's a thousands of year old system rooted in the idea that the body is a reflection of nature. You are the forest, the ocean, the moon. Everything in TCM is about balance and flow, yin and yang, wind and stillness, inhale and exhale. Each organ carries not just physical function, but emotional intelligence. The lungs are the delicate organ, sensitive to sadness and change. Their energetic pair is the large intestine, the seat of letting go. Together they form the metal element, energy of refinement, boundary, and breath. This isn't woo, this is ancient wisdom, proven, studied, even mapped. Thousands of years old, and it's still beating, and it's flowing through us even today. So what is the lung meridian? The lung meridian starts in the stomach, rises up through the lungs and throat, and runs down the inside of the arm to the thumb. This is a yin meridian, introspective, sensitive, and connected to the inner world. When it's flowing, you feel open, inspired, and present. When it's blocked, you feel tight, heavy, stuck, like you're walking through emotional fog. So some physical signs of imbalance could be chest tightness or shallow breath, chronic cough or sinus congestion. Could even be skin breakouts or like eczema or rashes. Fatigue that feels more emotional than physical. And then the emotional signs could be unprocessed grief, fear or vulnerability, suppressed sadness, or the inability to feel joy or deep love. So let's talk about its partner, the large intestine meridian, which rules letting go. Yes, bowel movements, poop, yep, but also releasing old stories, relationships, clutter, and guilt. The yin and yang dance of take in and release, which is also the same flow as our lungs, in and out. So I've experienced grief several times in my life. So just one example, like there was a time I couldn't catch my breath, and this was around 2014. I had left my job in the fitness world, a job I had once loved. Like I genuinely believe my purpose here was to help people through just movement. A job that had become toxic and grinding me down, and it literally stole my spark. I was exhausted, but I didn't cry. I might have had the occasional breakup, but breakthrough where I ugly cried, like explosively. I exploded, but I didn't cry. So I ended up throughout that whole ordeal, I packed up, physically packed up, and moved to another city, rebuilt my life with my partner. I found Reiki, I found purpose, but still something lingering in my chest, this tension, this pressure in my lungs. They were always on guard. Until one day, doing energy work on myself, I felt it. This actually led to a few months of me constantly crying at a drop of a hat. But the grief wasn't about one thing. It was about every time I had abandoned myself and let myself go and putting myself in the background for nearly a decade, um, so that I could stay in a system that didn't see me. So I cried. I cried a lot, and this happened for several months. And then I could breathe. It was just like a switch flipped and I could breathe. And throughout my life, whenever I've had issues with my lungs, I go back to what am I carrying? Where am I needing the support? And I'm fortunate in a way, you could say, that my lungs are very sensitive. I do have a history of asthma and breathing issues. So if there's a part of me that is sensitive or is kind of like my canary in the coal mine, it is my lungs. So I have a near and dear relationship with my energy work and my emotional state and my lungs. So I have several stories with how abandonment or loss or regret or grief has sat in my lungs and wreaked havoc and how I navigated it. So I'm going to be sharing a lot of tips and guidance for this area. So what is the science behind this? So let's just nerd out because you know me, I love my science and I like getting grounded in it. So grief isn't just an emotion, it's a nervous system event. When we experience loss, now it could be death, breakups, betrayal, burnout, loss of a job, the body shifts into sympathetic activation, so fight or flight. But when the loss isn't allowed to move, when we freeze, we enter what's called dorsal vagal shutdown. So this could be numbness, disconnection, shallow breathing, or even like emotional flatlining. Your vagus nerve is the key. It connects the lungs, heart, brain, and gut. So, breath work is phenomenal. It stimulates it, helping regulate emotions and return to safety. And studies from the HeartMath Institute show that intentional breath work, breathing, and emotional coherence literally change your heart rhythms and brain waves. It is a reset button. In other words, healing grief isn't in your head, it's in your lungs. So, here are some signs you may be holding on to grief. If you do a quick body scan, which is my stop, drop, and flow, taking some breaths and leaning into your body and turning off the noise, take a moment and read. So, with your body, do you struggle to take a full breath? Do you feel pressure in your chest when emotional topics come up? Do you get allergies, asthma, or eczema when stressed? Do you experience emotional constipation so you're unable to cry or share? Or do you hold on to old clothes, old emails, old lovers? You may be carrying more than you know. So what can you do about this? So let's let's shift this. So first, one way is trace the meridian. You can Google this. There's lots of maps online. There's Donna Eden's Energy Medicine book, which is phenomenal. You can trace all the lines in there. She's got a wonderful work with that book. So you can trace the meridian. So place your hand on your chest and trace down the inside of the arm to your thumb. And as you're doing it, imagine white light. The point that I like to start with is if you go to your armpit and go three or four fingers in on your chest and start there on either side, your right or your left, and then trace that line down the inside of your arm towards your thumb and off your thumb. And imagine white light. So you're activating it, you're warming it up, you're aligning and tuning into that energy point. And you can do this both arms and do it daily. Whenever we're working with meridians, I like to abide by the body clock. So every odd hour, so 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and doing it on the odd hour because that's when our body flips between organs. The second method is breath and sound. So breathing, so inhale deeply. And when you exhale, do it with an open and that pulls it right up through your lungs. And you repeat this several times, 7 to 9 times. I like the odd numbers. This vibrates your chest, which vibrates your lung meridian and calms the nervous system. So it's a type of stimming, guys. Okay, so and then exhale out hard. The third one, which I love, is my herbal buddies. So mullein tea, it's a beautiful leaf tea. You can get it in tea bags. It opens the lungs gently. It reduces inflammation. There's been several studies on mullein tea. You don't need to drink tons of it. You can drink it in the morning, evening. It's not caffeinated. But again, whenever I talk about herbal work, do your research because I'm not a certified doctor or an herbalist. So do your research, do your due diligence. If you're on any kind of medications or you have allergies, just a quick disclaimer here, guys. Be smart, do your research, talk to your doctor before you start adding anything to your diet. Because there's a lot of different medications out there and there's a lot of different conditions, and I don't know where your nervous system is at. So I wouldn't just grab anything off the internet and pop it into my body. I would do my research first. And if I needed to, talk to a professional, medical professional. So there's mullein tea, which opens up the lungs. That's been phenomenal for me. Licorice root tea, licorice root in general, I have a love-hate relationship. My body doesn't align with it, but I have several friends and practitioners who swear by it. So as I said, do your due diligence and listen to your body. Next is ginger and lemon. This is my best friend. I absolutely love this. It warms and detoxifies the system. And you can, I actually like it iced. And so do what aligns with you. But here's some mullein tea, licorice root, and ginger and lemon are phenoms. Oils or aromatherapy. Eucalyptus clears energetic debris, so it's great for having in the background. But if you do have any pets or small children, eucalyptus, either keep that oil up high, but you don't want it right in their face. Geranium. This one, geranium is the go-to grief oil. So heals emotional wounds. Again, this is something that you put into the diffuser, guys. And then there's frankincense. If you've taken any of my courses, I say put frankincense. Frankincense can be used on anything, really. So supports deep grief and connection to the divine. So when in doubt, use frankincense. Sometimes I like to rub a little bit of that with a carrier oil and dab it on the back of my neck, at the base of my skull. Sometimes I like to anoint my third eye with frankincense, or I put that in the diffuser. So again, do your research, play around with it, but these are just some tools for more or less to help you jump yourself down into the rabbit hole, my friends. The next one is crystals. And what I love about crystals is that they carry their own vibration. So you don't need to know if you're overactive, underactive, or you just need to grab the crystal, because if it's natural vibration, it will start to align either your meridian or chakra to the energy that it needs to be at. So a great one is selenite. It clears dense energy and connects to the higher energy fields. Amazonite helps release grief and fear. And then we have rose quartz, which brings gentleness and self-love during sorrow. I like to pop rose quartz into flower pots and in all my planters around the house because not only do they help my plants grow, but it's a nice way to put crystals in your space around you where you're not necessarily announcing or displaying stuff so that when people come to visit your space, they're getting a clearing and it is quite nice. And also, rose quartz is safe to have around. Children or animals. It doesn't break off like selenite does. Selenite, you need to keep that up high and keep it dry. Another area you can play with is colors and frequencies. Color has a vibration, as we know, with the light spectrum. So wonderful healing colors you can use when you're working with the lung meridian is pure white or pale gray. So that helps clear and reset. The frequency, 396 hertz for releasing fear and guilt. So you can have that playing in the background. It's phenomenal. Or tuning forks. And visualization. So imagining each breath in, inhaling as pure light. Hold it in your heart space, your lungs. And as you exhale, you're just letting go of grayness, like a gray cloud, and let it just float back up to the universe. So that's some fun ways to work with the energy. And we started dabbling in talking about the chakras. Which chakras are associated with the lung meridian? Well, the first one is the heart chakra, which is connection, grief, forgiveness. So if it's feeling blocked, you may have emotional numbness or feeling lonely. The throat chakra, which is expression of your grief. So it may be blocked, holding back tears, unspoken pain, or throat infections or cough. A solar plexus as well, which is control or suppressed anger, where you're trying to like pull the energy down as opposed to letting it come up. So if it's feeling blocked, you're holding your breath, there may be tension or consistent stomach upset. So when you work the lung meridian, all three of these can come online. A mantra I like to use to help shift the energy is this. So you can repeat it with me or you can wait till later. But I like to say, I am safe to feel. I am safe to release. I honor my grief and trust the flow of life. To let those words land and sit and just breathe it through. So that's us for today. And I appreciate you sticking around. I hope this gave you some insight and some areas to jump down that beautiful rabbit hole of owning our own healing and hopping into frequency medicine. If you're ready to breathe and add more support, I do offer the Intuition Circle. If you found yourself breathing and you're like, yes, I want a little bit more, you're not alone. I'd love to ask you or invite you to join me in the Intuition Circle. It's my monthly membership for women working on their gifts, their senses, and finding their own peace and power. Inside it, we have every 2 weeks a Zoom class where we're either practicing readings or going through healings or working with our nervous system. I offer journals, meditation libraries, and a variety of spiritual tools. There's over 15 courses and replays that you can go back and open up and learn more. And also, if you join up this month, I am giving away a free 15-minute reading with me, and it's all for $25 a month. So you can go, the details are in the information below. So, just some final thoughts. Grief is a frequency. It isn't weakness. It isn't failure. It's the sign that your heart has loved deeply and now asks for space to breathe again. So exhale, beautiful soul. You don't have to carry it all anymore. I see you. I honor your breath. I celebrate your willingness to feel. Until next time, stay in your frequency and share this medicine if it resonated. Take care.